Welcome, Grade 7 Explorers. I am absolutely thrilled to be your guide on today's Explainer expedition. Imagine us as wildlife documentarians, but instead of tracking lions or elephants across the savannah, we're tracking the most fascinating species on the planet, human beings. Today, we're going to master 20 essential exam questions all about how our human population grows, changes, and moves across the globe. We'll be using a rapid-fire, interactive call and response format. I'll ask the question, give you a quick second to lock in your mental guess, and then we'll reveal the answer together. Get ready, focus in, and let's conquer this exam prep.
All right, let's jump right into our first habitat. Section 1, the global population landscape. Here comes question 1.
Question 1. What was the world population in April 2025? Take a quick second, lock in your guess. Got it? It's a staggering 8.2 billion. That is 8.2 billion individual humans sharing this giant spinning rock we call Earth right now.
Let's zoom into our own territory for question 2. What was South Africa's population in April 2025? Lock it in. The answer is 64.5 million. Yep, 64.5 million people living right here in South Africa.
So, moving to question 3. What happens every year to the number of people on Earth? Does it shrink? Does it stay exactly the same? Well, the answer is it increases. Every single year, the global population consistently grows. More and more humans are joining the habitat.
With all those people, question 4 asks, is the population evenly distributed across the Earth? Are we spread out perfectly flat like peanut butter on a slice of toast? No way. Some regions are incredibly densely populated. Think millions packed into buzzing cities. While other places, like vast deserts or freezing tundras, are sparsely populated, hardly anyone lives there at all.
Moving on to Section 2, births, deaths, and growth. Let's look at the core mechanics of our population ecosystem.
Question 5. Define the term birth rate. For your exam, you absolutely need this exact definition. It is the number of babies born in a year compared to every 1,000 people in a country. When you see high numbers here, it means our human habitat is growing incredibly fast. On the flip side, question 6, define the term death rate. Simply put, it's the number of deaths in a country for every 1,000 people in 1 year. And just like the birth rate, we always measure this against a group of 1,000. That makes it super easy to compare different countries, no matter their total size.
So what do these numbers actually tell us? Question 7. What does it mean if a country has a low death rate? Any guesses? Well, it implies a very healthy population. It's a fantastic sign that people are living long, healthy lives.
Conversely, question 8. What does it mean if a country has a high death rate? Sadly, this is a major red flag. It signals problematic healthcare or poor living conditions. It basically tells us the population is facing some severe survival challenges.
All right, question 9 asks us to define population growth rate. The answer? It is the difference between the birth rate and the death rate in a country. Now, what's really interesting here is how this connects our last two terms into one powerful metric. It literally tells us the net speed at which our habitat is expanding or shrinking.
And that leads us to question 10. What's the mathematical formula to calculate this? It's wonderfully simple. You just take the birth rate, subtract the death rate, and that equals the population growth rate. Make sure to memorize that, because you will definitely need it on your exam.
Now for question 11. When does a healthy or positive growth rate happen? This naturally occurs when the birth rate is higher than the death rate. Basically, more humans are arriving than departing, resulting in a positive, steady population growth.
Question 12. When does a negative growth rate happen? You probably guessed it. It's the exact opposite. A negative rate kicks in when the death rate is higher than the birth rate, meaning the overall population size is actually shrinking. But wait, births and deaths aren't the whole story. Question 13. Besides births and deaths, what else changes a country's population? Lock in your answer? It's migration. This is the rate at which people physically move into a country or pack up and leave. Humans moving across borders can drastically shift the population balance. To truly master this concept, question 14 asks us to use the bathtub analogy. Imagine a country's population is the water in a bathtub. What are the two inputs and two outputs? Think about it. The inputs, adding water or people, are births and immigrants. The outputs, water draining away, are deaths and immigrants. Keep that bathtub image locked in your mind. It's a real game changer for exams.
Let's move on to Section 3, Historical Data and Trends. Now that we know the mechanics, let's see how they play out in the real world. Question 15. Which country currently has the largest population and which is second? The heavyweight champions of human population are India taking first place globally, followed incredibly closely by China in second place.
So, where do we fit in? Question 16. Where does South Africa rank on the world's population list? Take a mental guess. South Africa actually sits right at 24th in the world. Out of nearly 200 countries, being 24th is a pretty significant footprint.
Now, tracking historical data sometimes reveals tragic events. Question 17. Why did South Africa's population growth rate hit its lowest point in the year 2020? The solemn reality here is that this steep dip was caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused a massive spike in the death rate globally and right here at home. Looking a bit further back, question 18 asks, in what years did South Africa's annual population growth reach its peak and what happened after? Notice how it hit its absolute highest peak way back in 1983 and 1984. Post-1984, there's been a steady decline in the growth rate. We are still growing, just not nearly as fast as we were in the 80s.
Okay, time to put your math skills to the test with question 19. Calculate the difference in people if South Africa's population in 1980 was roughly 29.5 million and in 1990 it was roughly 40.7 million. Do the mental math. When you subtract the 1980 number from the 1990 number, you get exactly 11,227,411. That means in just one single decade, the South African habitat added over 11.2 million humans.
All right, entering the final stretch. Section 4, Global Statistics Analysis. Let's dig into the raw data.
Here we are. Question 20, the final challenge. Let's rapid-fire analyze this table. First, A. Which has the highest birth rate? Scanning the data, it's Mozambique at 40. B. Lowest death rate. That's Brazil at 6. C. Let's calculate growth rates using our formula. Mozambique is 40 minus 13, which is a massive growth rate of 27. Brazil is 18 minus 6, giving 12. But look closely at Japan. 7 births minus 9 deaths. That's a negative growth rate of minus 2, meaning their population is actually shrinking. Finally, D. What problems does a high growth rate like Mozambique's cause? Well, crucially, a shortage of jobs. The economy can really struggle to employ all those new people. And that leaves us with a provocative final thought. As global populations soar, how do we innovate to ensure every single new arrival to our human habitat has the resources they need to thrive? Think on that, grade 7s. Best of luck on your exams and keep exploring.